The stars were calm that night, but Earth felt a tension that not even centuries of peace could erase. Humanity had long known that it owed a debt older than the first colony ships, older than the first interstellar councils. Centuries ago, when humanity teetered on the edge of extinction, a distant alien race, the Eravans, had come. They offered knowledge, technology, and hope when humans had nothing but fear and desperation. Whole cities were rebuilt, industries revived, and humanity rose like a phoenix from the ashes. But the Eravans had warned, every gift comes with a price, and one day that price must be paid. Captain Leora Dane stood on the observation deck of the starship Vanguard, her eyes scanning the stars that stretched like a dark ocean. The faint glimmer of distant suns reflected in her eyes, but they held no warmth tonight. She could feel it in her bones, the call of duty, the weight of a promise that had lasted centuries. Humanity had prospered, laughed, and conquered, but now it was time to face what it owed. We were trusted, she whispered to herself, her voice trembling slightly with the gravity of the moment. And trust must never be broken. The Galactic Council had long assumed that humans were like other species, reckless, unpredictable, likely to crumble under pressure. They had watched humans grow, slowly at first, then faster than anyone expected, and they had scoffed. The humans will never survive a true war, diplomats had said. Their courage is reckless, their plans chaotic. But humans had never been predictable. They had endured plagues, wars, and disasters, and they had survived where others failed. Now the Eravans' signal of urgency had echoed across light years. It was not a request. It was a summons. Somewhere in the dark reaches of the galaxy, an ancient threat had awakened, one that could destroy civilizations as easily as humans had once been saved. And only humans, with their strange mix of courage, cunning, and relentless determination, could answer the call. In the command center, crew members prepared quietly. Engineers checked engines, pilots reviewed maps, soldiers loaded weapons, and simulations ran over every possible scenario. Even in the calm of preparation, tension crackled through the air like static. Everyone knew the legends: fleets that disappeared without a trace, worlds that fell in silence, cries of civilizations lost to the void. And yet none of it seemed to frighten the humans. Leora's second-in-command, Jax Harmon, walked up beside her. His voice was low but firm. They think we'll fail. They always do. Every council, every alien species. They think humans are dangerous only to ourselves. Leora turned to him, a faint smile touching her lips. Let them think that. It will make the lesson even stronger when we prove them wrong. Her voice carried no arrogance, only calm certainty. It was not cruelty. It was honor. Humans did not seek war for fun, but when duty called, they answered fully. The Vanguard's engines hummed softly, a promise of speed and power, ready to tear across the void. Beyond the ship, stars shone indifferently, unaware of the storm about, to awaken in their midst. Leora's mind drifted briefly to Earth. Green forests, endless oceans, the bustling cities that had been the cradle of human courage. All of it had been possible because someone, centuries ago, had believed in them. And now humanity would return that belief with action. We move at dawn, Leora said softly, more to herself than to anyone else. Her gaze returned to the endless darkness ahead. We move, and we repay the debt, not with words, not with promises, with fire, with courage, and with everything we have. The crew nodded quietly, feeling the weight of history settle on their shoulders. Across the galaxy, millions of lives would hang in the balance, and humanity, small and stubborn as it was, would once again face the impossible, because this was not just a debt to repay. This was humanity's reckoning. The galaxy was quiet, but that calm was a lie. Far beyond the known systems, in the shadowed edges where light rarely reached, the Wraith had risen, a ruthless fleet of predators, consuming planets, extinguishing civilizations without thought or mercy. Their power was feared, even by the most advanced races. Entire systems whispered warnings, but no council ship dared enter. Many who tried never returned. Captain Leora Dane stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, the lights of distant stars flickering across her determined face. Around her, the crew moved with quiet purpose. Pilots ran last-minute checks on their fighter. Ships, engineers monitored energy levels, and soldiers practiced routines that might be the difference between life and death. There was tension, but also an unspoken bond. Humans had a way of turning fear into focus, danger into determination. Her, second-in-command Jax Harmon, leaned against the control panel, his eyes scanning the navigation screens. "They call us reckless," he said quietly. "Unpredictable, they think we'll fail. The Wraith, they think we're just another weak species, another meal waiting in the dark." Leora's gaze did not waver. "Let them think that. The galaxy underestimates humans at its own peril. They will learn what it means to face something they cannot break, something they cannot predict." The mission was clear. Penetrate the Wraith-controlled systems, locate the heart of their fleet, and dismantle it before more worlds were lost. The Aravans had warned them that this task would be unlike anything humanity had faced before. The Wraith were fast, intelligent, and cruel. They studied their enemies, learned from mistakes, and destroyed those who underestimated them. Many species had tried and failed, but humans thrived on challenge. The Vanguard slipped through hyperspace, a silver streak in the black void. Outside, the stars blurred into lines of light, a reminder of the speed at which humans could travel, but also of the dangers waiting in the shadows. Leora felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. Every life lost to the Wraith, every planet burned, was a reminder of the debt humanity had promised to repay. This was not just a mission, this was justice. As they approached the fringes of the Wraith territory, sensors picked up movement, fleets lurking in darkness, waiting. The warning lights blinked on the bridge. The Wraith had detected them. The crew held their breath, hearts beating in rhythm with the thrumming engines of the Vanguard. Jax spoke again, softer this time. "It's worse than we imagined. They move faster than anything we've seen." Leora nodded, her eyes fixed on the holographic maps. "Speed means nothing without strategy. We do not fight like them. We fight like humans. Clever, relentless, fearless." She remembered Earth, remembered the lessons learned from generations of survival. Adapt, endure, and never give up. Humanity had conquered plagues, wars, and natural disasters. They had faced the impossible countless times and emerged stronger each time. And now, on the edge of the galaxy, facing creatures that many believed unstoppable, they would do the same. The first signals of battle flickered across the communications panel. A small Wraith outpost, meant to guard the border, was sending distress signals. The humans did not hesitate. Fighters launched from the Vanguard, weaving through asteroid fields and laser fire, cutting through enemy ships with precision. The crew's training, their courage, their instinct for survival, all of it came together. Leora's voice was calm but firm over the comms. "Move fast, strike hard, protect one another, and remember why we are here. Not for glory, not for fear, for the debt we owe, and the lives we save by keeping it." The Wraith would learn soon enough that humans did not flee from darkness. They moved into it, carrying with them fire, courage, and a storm the galaxy had never seen before. And for the first time, somewhere deep in the void, a shiver passed through the Wraith ranks. The humans had arrived. The Vanguard cut through the void like a blade, leading the human fleet into the heart of the Wraith-controlled system. Silence surrounded them, but it was a false calm, the kind that always preceded a storm. Sensors detected dozens of enemy ships hiding in the shadows, waiting to strike. Yet humans did not tremble. They never had. Fear was a tool, and they had long learned to turn it into focus. Captain Leora Dane stood at the bridge, her eyes sharp and unwavering. "They think we will panic. They think humans crumble under pressure. Let's show them the truth." she said quietly, her voice carrying across the hushed bridge. Every crew member felt her resolve, the quiet certainty that had always marked humanity's greatest victories. This was more than survival. It was a reckoning. Jax Harmon, standing beside her, scanned the enemy positions. They're trying to surround us. Classic trap. Every other species would have fallen already. His voice held a trace of awe. We are different. Leora gave a faint, grim smile. That's why they underestimated us. Humans are never predictable. We fight with courage, strategy, and instinct. We strike where they least expect it. The first wave of human fighters shot forward, streaking like silver comets through the darkness. Wraith ships fired back, lasers cutting streaks of red and green across the void. Explosions lit the shadows, but the humans did not falter. They weaved through the enemy lines, striking with precision. Every movement, every attack had been rehearsed, yet adapted in real time. Humans thrived in chaos where others would crumble. From the bridge, Leora watched the Wraith commander's response. A communication full of threats, arrogance, and contempt. Fools, it hissed. You cannot survive in this sector. Your species is weak like all the others. Leora's reply was silent. She did not need words. Actions spoke louder than threats. The Vanguard's energy beams sliced through the UI. Wraith ships, human fighters darted between enemy fire, and within moments several enemy vessels erupted in bright, shattering explosions. The Wraith had underestimated them. Again. In the heat of battle, Leora felt a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. Fear, for the lives of her crew, for the weight of the debt they carried. Exhilaration, for the power of humanity, for the skill and courage that allowed them to strike where others would have failed. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries, and now the galaxy would see their true strength. The Wraith regrouped, attempting to flank the humans, but the humans anticipated every move. Using cunning and strategy, they created false retreats, luring enemy ships into traps and then struck from multiple directions at once. The Wraith, creatures of cold logic, were confused and panicked. Humans had no fear, no hesitation, and their attacks came with relentless precision. Explosions rocked the battlefield, yet the humans pressed forward. Ships moved like a living organism, each part anticipating the other, adapting to the enemy's movements with uncanny skill. The Wraith had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that combined courage, intelligence, and the willingness to risk everything. As the last Wraith vessel in the first wave exploded, Leora allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. They had survived the first strike. They had turned fear into victory. And the galaxy, though it did not yet know it, had begun to tremble. "Report," Leora commanded, her voice calm but resolute. "All systems green, Captain. Enemy losses severe." "They didn't expect humans to fight like this," Jax replied. Leora's eyes drifted to the stars, dark and infinite. "Good," she whispered. "Let them fear us. Let them know that humans never back down. We repay debts with courage and with fire." And far across the void, somewhere in the Wraith ranks, something stirred, a new, uneasy feeling. Humans were here. Humans were unstoppable, and the galaxy had never seen anything like them. The humans had struck, and the galaxy had begun to whisper. From distant systems, news spread of the Vanguard's attack, of the fleets that moved like living storms, and of soldiers who refused to surrender. Even allies felt unease. They had heard of human courage, yes, but never of such calculated ferocity, and now it was no longer bravery, it was terror. Captain Leora Dane stood on the bridge, watching the reports flood in. Planets once silent now spoke in hurried transmissions. Entire systems hailed humanity as liberators, but some feared them, as much as they feared the Wraith. Leora's jaw tightened. Humanity did not seek to terrify, but it had learned long ago that fear was a powerful teacher. When enemies underestimated humans, they paid dearly. Jax Harmon came to her side, looking at the hollow maps that showed the ripple of human strikes through the galaxy. "They're talking about us everywhere," he said. "Some call us saviors, Others? Monsters. Leora nodded slowly. Good. Let them fear us. Fear keeps them honest. Fear reminds them that actions have consequences. We do not seek hatred, but we will not beg for trust either. We earn it, or the galaxy suffers the consequences of ignoring it. Across the council chambers, diplomats and alien leaders met in emergency sessions. The humans are dangerous, one of them whispered, shaking in disbelief. They do not fight like any species we have known. They are unstoppable. Yet for all the fear, humanity moved forward with calm precision. The Vanguard's crew did not celebrate their victories. They mourned the planets burned, the lives lost, and the silent cries of those who had suffered under the Wraith's cruelty. Every strike, every victory, carried with it a weight of responsibility. Humans fought not for glory. They fought for justice, for the lives promised to be saved, and for the debt they had sworn to repay. The Wraith, meanwhile, reeled in confusion and panic. They had expected chaos, yes, but never intelligence combined with unyielding courage. Their tactics faltered under the relentless human assaults. Their fleets, once confident and swift, now scattered and faltered, and with each defeat, the name of humans grew, not as a species to negotiate with, but as a force the galaxy must reckon with. In a small communications hub, Leora spoke to a captured Wraith commander, its voice trembling. "Why do you fight so hard?" it demanded. "We outnumber you. We are stronger, faster, merciless." Leora's gaze was steady, unflinching. "Numbers do not define strength. Mercy does not define weakness. Humans fight for what is right and for what must be done. You will learn that some debts, when repaid, are unforgiving." Across the galaxy, systems began to take notice. The HFY, humans were not just warriors, they were symbols. Symbols of courage, of honor, and of the cost of betrayal. Those who once saw them as reckless fools now hesitated, wary of what the humans might do next. Jax watched Leora quietly, a small awe in his eyes. "Do you think they'll ever stop fearing us?" Leora's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Perhaps not, and that's fine. Fear keeps the galaxy in balance, but it is not enough. Respect is what we will earn, slowly, planet by planet, system by system. Fear is the first lesson. Respect is the second, and we will teach both." The stars beyond the Vanguard shimmered, indifferent yet witness to humanity's rise. Where once humans had been underestimated, they were now unstoppable. Where once their courage had been admired, it was now feared. The galaxy had begun to shake, and the storm was only beginning. The humans did not celebrate, they did not boast. They moved with calm determination, understanding the power they wielded. They repaid their debt not with words, not with hollow promises, but with courage, with fire, and with the certainty that the galaxy would never forget them. And somewhere, far in the void, the Wraith fleet shivered. Humans had arrived, and shadows of fear spread like wildfire across the stars. The heart of the Wraith Empire was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The Shadow Citadel floated in the darkness, a fortress larger than a moon, its black spires stretching like claws toward the stars. It pulsed with energy stolen from dozens of worlds, each core enslaved to feed the Wraith's power. Entire civilizations had vanished here, swallowed by cold ambition and cruelty. Humanity's debt had led them to this place, the final test. Captain Leora Dane stood on the deck of the Vanguard, staring at the Citadel through the reinforced glass. Her jaw was tight, her eyes sharp. "This is it," she whispered, a mix of dread and determination in her voice. "The debt ends here, and the Wraith will finally learn what it means to cross humanity." Jax Harmon checked the tactical displays, his fingers flying across the controls. "Sensors show heavy defenses. They've prepared for everything, mines, shields, ambushes. They expect us to fail." Leora shook her head, calm and resolute. "Then they have underestimated humans again. We fight not like others. We fight like a species that survived extinction, that honored a promise centuries old. We fight for life, for justice, for debt repaid. The assault began. Human ships surged forward, weaving through deadly fields of energy, dodging automated turrets and dismantling enemy fighters with precision. Explosions lit the darkness like violent fireworks, yet the humans pressed on, undeterred. Every movement was measured, every strike purposeful. This was not chaos, it was mastery. Soldiers boarded the Shadow Citadel, moving like shadows themselves through the twisting corridors. Traps awaited them, wraith ambushes ready to strike. But humans adapted instantly, turning danger into opportunity. The wraith had believed that fear alone would stop them. They had believed no species could survive here. They were wrong. Leora led the strike teams, her voice steady over the comms. Move fast, protect one another, every life matters, remember why we are here. For the debt, for the lives lost, for justice. Inside the fortress, the wraith leaders waited. They were creatures of cold logic, expecting humans to falter before overwhelming power. But humans did not falter. They pressed forward, guided by courage, instinct, and a relentless sense of purpose. Every step forward was a statement. Humans kept their word, and the cost of betrayal would be total. Energy cores that had enslaved entire planets pulsed with unnatural light. Humans carefully released them, channeling the energy to destabilize the Citadel's structure. Explosions shook the fortress, black smoke and fire filling the corridors. Yet, humanity did not waver. They fought through the chaos, through fear and death, to reach the heart of the Wraith Empire. Finally, the Citadel began to collapse. The enslaved energy cores detonated, exploding like newborn stars, ripping apart the fortress. The Wraith fleet scattered into the void, leaderless and broken. Humanity had struck the heart, and the Empire of Terror crumbled in their wake. Leora stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, watching the explosion light the stars. She felt a quiet, heavy satisfaction. Humanity had repaid its debt. They had faced terror, stood against impossible odds, and emerged victorious. But it was not pride she felt. It was duty fulfilled. Jax came to her side, his face reflecting the glow of distant fires. We actually did it, he murmured. Leora's eyes did not leave the sky. We did what we had to do. The galaxy will remember this day. They will remember humans, and not as reckless fools, not as weaklings, but as a force that honors its word no matter the cost. Far across the void, the Wraith fleets fled in terror. Systems that had been silenced by fear now whispered the name of humanity. The galaxy had changed, and its tremor was felt from the outermost stars to the nearest suns. Humans had faced the heart of darkness, and they had won. And somewhere, deep in the void, a message traveled, whispered from system to system. The humans had repaid their debt, and when humans repaid, the galaxy shook. The galaxy had begun to change. Wherever humanity had passed, whispers spread faster than light. Some called them saviors, others monsters, but no one ignored them. The stories of courage, precision, and unstoppable force traveled from planet to planet, carried by traders, diplomats, and the few survivors of the Wraith attacks. Humans had repaid their debt, yes, but in doing so, they had reshaped the galaxy's understanding of power, fear, and respect. Captain Leora Dane stood once more on the bridge of the Vanguard, her eyes scanning the stars that stretched endlessly before them. The void no longer felt empty. It was alive with the echoes of humanity's victories. Systems once silent now reached out, eager for contact or trembling at the thought of what humans might do next. Jax Harmon joined her, watching the reports of liberated planets scroll across the displays. "Do you think they'll ever stop fearing us?" he asked softly, a mixture of awe and unease in his voice. Leora shook her head, calm and resolute. "No, and that's fine. Fear keeps the galaxy honest. But fear alone is not enough. Respect, that must be earned. And humanity will earn it step by step." Across the council chambers, debates raged. Alien diplomats whispered in disbelief. They did not just fight. They strategized, adapted, and destroyed the Wraith where we thought no one could survive. One counselor said, "No other species could have done this." The humans had no illusions about what they had done. They had not fought for glory. They had fought to honor an ancient promise, to repay a debt, and to save lives that could have been lost forever. Yet in doing so, they had become legends, the subject of awe and fear alike. On the planets they passed, people looked to the skies, imagining human ships cutting through the darkness, striking with precision, unstoppable and unwavering. Entire civilizations felt hope for the first time in decades, though tinged with fear. Humans were saviors, yes, but saviors who demanded attention, who reminded the galaxy that courage could be terrifying when combined with relentless determination. Leora's thoughts drifted back to Earth. She remembered green forests, oceans, stretching to horizons, and the cities where humans had first learned to survive against impossible odds. Humanity had grown from fragile beginnings into a force no one could ignore. And now, standing at the edge of the galaxy, they were more than survivors. They were a reckoning. Jax's voice broke through her thoughts. "They're calling for alliances, but some systems refuse to join us. They're afraid we might not stop, even if we wanted to." Leora's lips curved into a faint, resolute smile. "Good. Let them fear us. Let them know that when humans repay a debt, it is total. But fear is only the first lesson. Our actions will teach them the second. Respect. We do not destroy without reason. We do not conquer without cause. We fight because it is our duty, and because we survive, no matter what stands in our way." The stars beyond the vanguard shimmered, indifferent yet witness to humanity's rise. Humanity had shown that courage was not just bravery in battle, it was honor, intelligence, and the willingness to face the impossible. They had faced terror and emerged victorious. Every fleet, every liberated planet, every story of human courage added weight to their name. Humans were no longer merely a species, they were a message to the galaxy. Underestimate us, and you will pay. Trust us, and we will honor you beyond measure. As the vanguard moved forward, cutting through the void toward the next mission, Leora felt the quiet satisfaction of a promise fulfilled. Humanity had repaid its debt. The Wraith had been defeated, fear had spread, and respect was beginning to follow. The galaxy would remember this day, and somewhere, far across the stars, whispers traveled like wildfire. Humans had arrived. Humans had repaid their debt, and the storm they brought was only the beginning. Years passed, but the memory of humanity's arrival in the heart of the galaxy never faded. The Wraith were gone, scattered across the void, their empire destroyed. Planets once silent and fearful now breathed, rebuilding under the quiet guidance of humans. The galaxy had changed forever, shaped not by domination, but by courage, honor, and the relentless will of a species that refused to fail. Captain Leora Dane walked the quiet halls of Earth's starport, watching ships take off toward distant worlds. The galaxy remembered the vanguard, the human fleets, and the storm that had struck fear and awe into every corner of space. Yet for Leora, there was no pride, only reflection. They had repaid a debt older than any star, and in doing so, they had changed the very balance of power. Jax Harmon joined her, his expression softer than usual. "Do you think the galaxy understands what we did?" he asked quietly. Leora shook her head gently. "Some do. Others fear us. And that is as it should be. Fear teaches caution. Respect teaches understanding. Humans have shown both. That is our legacy." Across the stars, systems whispered of the humans who struck like storms, yet carried honor in their hearts. Those who had once doubted now saw the truth. Humans were unstoppable, yes, but not mindless. They fought with purpose, for promises kept, for lives protected, for debts honored. That combination of courage and integrity was something no alien species had ever truly faced. Even the Galactic Council had changed. They called for peace and treaties, But the conversation now included a note of caution. No species could underestimate humanity ever again. Humans had shown that when they committed, they did so fully, without hesitation, and with an intelligence that made every strike precise, every move deadly, and every victory inevitable. Leora gazed at the stars, remembering the long journey from Earth to the Wraith stronghold. She remembered the fear, the battles, the cries of the wounded, and the faces of those who had believed in humanity when others did not. Each memory carried weight, the burden of survival, the cost of honor, and the price of fulfilling a promise that had waited centuries to be repaid. Jax watched her quietly. Do you ever wonder what comes next? After all this? Leora's eyes softened but remained resolute. The galaxy will continue to test us. There will always be darkness, always threats. But humans will endure. We do not fight because it is easy. We fight because it is necessary. And when the time comes, we will repay any debt, confront any danger, and face the impossible. That is who we are. Legends began to form. Songs, stories, and histories spread across the galaxy of the humans who had repaid a debt older than memory, who had destroyed the Wraith Empire, and who had left fear and respect in their wake. Children on distant planets gazed at the stars, dreaming of the courage it would take to match such determination. And in every whisper, every tale, humans were remembered as a species unlike any other. Brave, relentless, honorable. Leora's hand rested on the railing of the observation deck. The stars shimmered quietly, indifferent yet witness to all that had been done. Humanity had proven a simple truth. Survival was not enough. True greatness lay in courage, integrity, and the willingness to act when the world, or the galaxy, needed it most. And somewhere in the void, scattered remnants of the Wraith remembered, trembling. The humans had come. The humans had repaid their debt. And the galaxy would never be the same again. Leora turned to Jax, her voice calm, carrying the weight of centuries and the fire of determination. We have done what we promised. The debt is repaid, and if the galaxy tests us again, we will answer, always. Fear us if you must. Respect us if you can. But never forget, we are human. And with that, the vanguard sailed forward, carrying humanity's legacy across the stars, AI, storm of honor, courage, and unshakable will. The end.